Oh.
Awesome. I'll be doing the equity briefing, but if you flip over to the next slide, Rob. Yep. I'm joined by two other lovely equity officers in Daisy and Doris, just over to that side there, so if you want to stand up as well to identify. And if you ever need to contact us, our information's on the next slide, but it's also kind of plastered throughout the tournament as well. As with Rob says, like, please don't call us and if you don't need it, etc., or you need to sleep and everything like that, but we're here to help you in cases of emergency if anything comes up. I will try to keep this brief and quick. We have some things to cover, pretty much just kind of general, what is equity, how do you act equitably, how can we help you resolve conflicts or other mechanisms, discussion about specifically the I am person policy, conflicts and clashes and some health stuff. We'll try to get this wrapped up quickly so that you guys can also get to food as well. And you can ask questions throughout, but also better to probably leave them to the end. Firstly, on just a quick introduction to equity, we focus on 3 principles, which is we want to protect every participant and ensure that you guys have a comfortable experience at the tournament. We want to educate and mediate people to help resolve disputes and help you act more equitably in the future. But we also want to make sure the tournament is fair for everyone as well. And part of what this looks like and where this applies is pretty much all areas of the tournament. Next slide there as well. So it's like any interaction you have in the scope of the tournament, whether it be outside debates, in the social, whether it be in the tournament venues or online, this is relevant interactions in the scope of equity and something that we can help you guys with and something that we can help resolve. So pretty much anywhere that the tournament is involved. Yeah, thank you. So in general conduct, there is a set of conduct. Pretty much the goal of equity is to make sure that you guys have a fun and safe tournament. So it means that you guys should act in a way where you don't compromise the fun or the safety of others. So as long as you're acting in a way where you respect individuals and you act in a way where you don't discriminate and you're inclusive, then you are adhering to equity. So that is what you want to be thinking about when you go about this tournament. And this involves conduct during all parts. Yes. So in terms of general equity actions, there are a set of protected attributes. List of examples are like age, nationality, gender identity, socioeconomic status, religious or political ideologies, language status or accent, institutional affiliations, disabilities or other differential abilities. It's about things that you have limited control over or things that take long, like they're protected attributes. It's not limited to this, but it's things that form your identity and form your experience and that you have some limited control over or no control over whatsoever. And so making sure that you are thinking about interactions with people and how there'll be a variety of people with all these differences at this tournament and making sure you don't act in a way that harms people based on these attributes and you respect people based on the differences that you have amongst these attributes as well. In general, we prohibit behavior around bullying, discrimination, whether it's direct or indirect, harassment, including sexual harassment, victimization, vilification, conduct that can cause physical harm and that breaches the law in any way, and anything else that can kind of impact the code of conduct. So act in a way where you aren't pretty much disrespecting others. Before debates, it's important that chairs run a pronoun round. Please, speakers, do not treat this as extra prep time. Please listen and respect other people's pronouns. You don't have to give pronouns if you don't want to. You can ask referred to in whatever way that makes you feel comfortable. Make sure people respect that. And if no one gives a pronoun preference, please use gender neutral language. And there are some examples. You can say, I'm speaking first reply, I'm Gus, my pronouns are he and him. Or I'm speaking second, I'm August. And those are ways you can introduce yourself. If you do make a mistake during the debate, do apologize and move on, and make sure chairs are tracking where mistakes might occur, and promptly prompt speakers to apologize and correct themselves at the end of their speech as well. In the case of rounds where there might be observers, which would apply either to like coaches or especially out rounds, either collect consent for public pronoun rounds from all individuals, run a private pronoun round outside, or ask everyone to refer to each other in gender neutral language, depending on how many people are around and what the debate looks like. During debates, please act respectfully. So be careful of your bench manner. For example, don't look incredibly dismissive of other people, especially if they're people who are doing, seem like they're hesitant around their first speech to Australs. They're quite anxious about it. Treat your other team and your opposition as a bunch of kind individuals who are trying equally as hard as you to win debates and engage in that same sense there as well. Be careful of things like table tapping, for example, as well, and anything that might lead to disruptive behavior in these debates. Don't use unnecessarily graphic language to illustrate arguments if you don't have to. That can often trigger people's experiences around these things, and is often also just quite uncomfortable to listen to for individuals as well. And it's often less persuasive than explaining things in other ways. Please do not use slurs or make personal attacks. That is unpersuasive but incredibly harmful as well. Don't use vulgar language, and also be careful when dealing with reclaimed language as well. In terms of generalizations, avoid generalizing in debates, and the way that you can do this is you want to speak as if that group were in the room with you and think whether you'll be comfortable saying this to this person or not. You can, it often helps to avoid arguing in absolutes. You want to acknowledge that oftentimes many conditions are externally imposed on groups. You want to justify how these conditions impact groups. It's important to be nuanced around groups. Groups aren't single groups, like there are often parts of these groups, and it's good to acknowledge and deal with that nuance. And in sometimes we just slip up in debates and we make mistakes, and it's okay. And what happens when that occurs is to realize that it's a mistake and be willing and open to learn and acknowledge that you have made a mistake and that you can learn from those circumstances as well. In terms of during and after debates, it's incredibly important for you guys to be aware of bias, especially when judges are deciding speaker scores, as we kind of saw to a degree in the judge test as well. And if you have bias that you might think there is a difference that might occur, it's good to question what grounds that bias might be occurring. And it's good to take a moment to reflect and go through your notes and see how the tracking might differ to your perception, for example. It's good not just to rely on your initial impressions of persuasiveness, as I was saying, just to check the notes. Also be careful of bias when you're giving feedback yourself. For example, don't call WGM speakers too emotional in their speeches. Or don't ask people with an accent to speak clearer. This is ineffective, but also is oftentimes incredibly diminishing to these individuals, and is not helpful whatsoever. So think nuanced through feedback and ask whether that would be useful feedback for yourself to receive as well. Also, when giving feedback to judges, be clear of your biases as well. We have a variety of diversity of judges, especially through things like IA budget, so make sure you're not just dismissing judges because of accent or clarity, and appropriately kind of questioning these things as well. Always ask yourself whether you think there might be bias or influence in that circumstance. If you can, yes.
I can indeed.
Pretty much, after debates with judge interactions, alongside here, but pretty much we acknowledge that Australs is incredibly stressful for everyone, especially speakers. I understand, having spoken 3 times myself at Australs, but it's no excuse to treat judges poorly. Judges are trying just as hard to break as you guys. Oftentimes they're equally, if not more, stressed about Australs as you guys are. They might be judging Australs for the first time, they might be chairing for the first time, they might be in their first major, they might not be in their first major, but they're still stressed about things. So please don't use your anxiety around this to treat judges poorly and lash out at judges, as partly Jordan was describing as well, and feedback there as well. So if you are upset about debates, take some time to calm down, reflect, talk to your team before you move forward there as well. And also realize that maybe some people are giving their first aways for the first time, or the first time chairing a major. And you can't ask judges after the debate, but also realize that the debate is over and you cannot change the ballot. So oftentimes frame your feedback and questions in a way that helps you learn from the debate and use it as a learning opportunity. Since there's oftentimes reasons why debates have gone that way, you can learn something from the judge. And oftentimes judging is diverse and everyone has valid perspectives on judging as well. And so it's good to ask, well, what could I have made this material stick more? But rather than just accusing a judge of ignoring material, for example. Yes. And at the social, it's important that the legal age of drinking in New South Wales is 18. Everyone here should be 18. If not, then something's gone wrong with registration, I believe, because that was what Rob's assured me in that case. According to the city of Wollongong, alcohol is prohibited at all beaches and many parks, so don't be drinking publicly on the beach. There are certain areas which are also alcohol-free zones where alcohol can't be drinking in public spaces, so we recommend either drinking in private domiciles, like for example, your rooms here, or drinking at licensed venues rather than drinking in public instead. Venues also have an obligation to follow the responsible service of alcohol. So these obligations look like requesting for ID, but also cutting you off if you are too drunk, and making sure that you're drinking enough water, for example, and that you aren't drinking in an irresponsible manner. So if you do get cut off, it's the business trying to protect their legal liabilities, so please don't make an argument about it, and Equity and Allcom can help look after you in that circumstance, and help kind of make sure that things are right. There's a little bit on IDs that Allcom kind of covered, which is some things can be digital, it's always best for international and interstate people to bring physical copies of, for example, driver's license, passports, or other relevant photo ID. But you can have some digital, like New South Wales, for New South Wales individuals there. But if you want to be careful, just bring physical stuff, because you will always be let in that circumstance. Swimming, I don't expect many of you guys will be swimming, just in case, at least not at the beach, it'll be very cold. And the official advice is don't swim if there are no lifesavers. If you must, swim with other people, and in the circumstances where like things go wrong at the beach for whatever reason, or things go wrong in the pool, make sure that you are remaining calm and that you are able to kind of, because oftentimes when things go wrong, you panic and that can make it worse. So it's best to often lie on your back and try get attention and let someone else call for help if you ever need it. I don't expect anyone to be swimming at the beach. If you aren't confident in identifying grips, then don't swim at the beach by yourself or with anyone else without anyone looking after yourself. There is some way, it's a little too complicated to describe. I wouldn't trust myself to identify a rip, so it's not something that I will be doing myself. And also don't swim while intoxicated, even in the venue here as well. It's a recipe for disaster. Finally, on consent and intimate interactions, consent is required for all sexual acts. Consent needs to be, a person agrees to consent at the time of the activity, needs to make sure that it's free and voluntarily given. This must be an affirmative yes. The absence of a yes, or even the absence of a no, doesn't mean that someone consents. It needs to be an affirmative and positive yes. So if you feel that there is no affirmative and positive yes, then it's best to be careful in these scenarios rather than imposing someone, because oftentimes that can lead to further, perhaps, fear or intimidation. So it's good to be aware of these interactions at any circumstance. Consent must be continual, even during durations of any act. Consent to one act does not mean consent to another, so make sure that you get consent for every continual act with an individual. Consent with one person does not mean that same consent applies to another person, or even applies with the same person at a later point. So you always need to get consent with the same individuals. And it can be withdrawn at any time. So if anyone says no, then that is them withdrawing their consent, and that you guys should be respecting that. And if someone is unconscious, asleep, or so affected by drugs or alcohol that they cannot consent, or if they are forced to or fear the force that you might apply, they also cannot consent, even if they might be saying yes. Also ask, is this person too drunk, for example, or am I worried about applying a sense of force in this circumstance, and reflect on that as well around consent. Next, we'll just talk quickly about resolution mechanisms. There are two types of complaints you can make in the form. There are informal complaints. These do not involve a formal investigation by us as the equity team. You can reach out to us as myself, Daisy, or Joris, or you can fill out the form if you have an informal complaint. This can look like you've heard about some event that might be concerning that you want us to know about. You might have seen an event, but you don't know enough about it. Or there might be something which happens which concerns you slightly, but you don't think it's worth a full investigation. These informal complaints can be very helpful, because if we have many informal complaints about like a similar situation or of one individual, it might be useful to have those as evidence about larger complaints or if someone else comes forward. So having informal complaints can be useful for us. And if we might also determine a follow-up on circumstances if there are a lot of informal complaints that follow up and determine that people are safe there. There are also formal complaints. You can reach out to us or fill out the Google form, and we can have a variety of actions which you can choose from on the Google form. I encourage you to investigate it yourself to see, but you can ask what happens. Equity is a victim-driven process. We won't do anything that you as a victim don't want us to do, but we can provide you a variety of things to help. For example, emotional support, education. We can do awareness around things like announcing things to everyone. We can ask for apologies. We can help mediate disputes with parties and anyone who you have a conflict around, or any situation that makes you feel perhaps unsafe. We can, in the worst cases, disqualify people from the tournament, and if needed, we can also help take legal action on your behalf as well. It's pretty much whatever you want from the circumstance, and if you're unsure, you can also say that, and you can reach out to us as equity. We can provide you advice on how to take the best action. You can also get help from us as equity outside of complaints. We are here to make sure you have a fun and safe environment. We understand that Australs is stressful, so if you want someone to talk about the stress or any other reason, we're here to help you out there as well. We're not the kind of big, scary, like enforcement task at all points. We do care and want to make sure you guys have fun, and it would be great to meet you guys across the tournament as well, so feel free to have a chat about us. The only other thing, digital device stuff, Ashcore have mostly covered. There's just two notes. this didn't update. But the 2 notes is get stickers from us if you've been approved the digital device. We emailed that earlier today, so you should be able to find us to get those stickers and put them in your device. And there was one question Agcor asked us to clarify, which was, can I write notes on my device and share it amongst my team members to read or to take up to the bench? No, you cannot. This is only for you to use as a way of accessing and writing down notes. You can chat to your other members on the bench to talk or share notes if you have a digital device as well. But don't show your computer screen to other people. You can pass and talk to each other with that stuff. If you have any other questions, you can ask us at Agcor. In terms of the specific in-person policy for Australs, AIDA defines this in the Constitution. You can in-person up to most 3 rounds at Australs. To do so, you must inform CAP and OC before the round begins. 2 people must be remaining and they must give 2 speeches each. The person who speaks third cannot give reply, so they must do third second or third first, and the other person must do second reply and first reply depending on what happens. You will still keep your team score until after the break announcement, and then you will get the higher of the 2 scores with in-personing. If you have any other clarifications around this, please let us know. But pretty much, let us know if you're going to opt out of a round beforehand. For quickly conflict and clashes, you should have done this already, but we had an increase of the filling out after the deadline by 33%. So if you have not filled out conflicts and clashes, let us know, or specifically the clashes or any other thing like that, let us know ASAP via messaging or reach out to us individually. We've filed most of the conflicts that have been put through in the meantime, but if you have anything after now, we'll be significantly slower at getting to it, so please fill out the conflicts and clashes. There is a list of mandatory clashes on the next page, which you should have read in the equity policy. But pretty much, if you have a relationship with them, past or current, if you have a family relationship, you've debated together, this includes high school, especially at majors or a long time at university. You have coached or been coached by the individual, and this is long-term coaching, like not just I picked up 1 shift on the weekend to look after dialogy or Cogito. It looks like I looked after this person for multiple months at a time. Previously affiliated with an institution, severe interpersonal clashes or financial obligations on our equity policy as well. Which is if that person is the boss of you, then they're someone who you should be conflicting. There are grey areas, which is you don't have to conflict your co-workers, but if you're close to them, please conflict them. This is a judgment about am I too close to them or am I not. The other thing to note is that conflicts can arise during the tournament, both positive and negative conflicts during your experience of Australs. So if you have a new conflict that arises during Australs due to your interactions with other participants, please let the equity team know so that we can ensure the fairness of the draw between rounds and ensure your safe and fair participation at Australs. I think that's everything there. Sorry, Rob. And then here are forms. They should be uploaded everywhere, but if you want to submit a conflict because you're like, oh, I haven't submitted one, I didn't think it was relevant, please do that now and let us know before the end of the night, because I assume Agcor will want that for allocations ASAP. If there's no one else who wants to take a photo, it's everywhere on the social media and on the link tree as well, so you should be able to find it. Finally, on healthcare resources, this didn't come out very well. Pretty much there's a pharmacy which is about 1.6 kilometers away, which is the best way to get access to both healthcare resources. The hospital is about 5 kilometers down south. If you ever need to go to the hospital, well, I guess I'll clarify with that, but that's in case if you need it as well. From the debate venues, there's a pharmacy on campus, which I looked up. It should be open during debate venue times. If not, we can find an alternative solution for accessing healthcare resources. We also have basic sanitary products as equity team as well, so if you need anything as that goes along, you can let us know. The final thing then is if you have health contacts, if you need any first aid, I'm trained as a first aider, which is why I brought up my first aid kit to share on stage. I'm happy to help provide first aid if you guys need that at any point. If it's non-serious, just drop me a message and I'll try to find you as soon as I can, whether it's a basic injury, and if relevant, you might want to let OC know, for example, if something might change. If it's an emergency, call campus security, call 000, and probably let me know. I feel like I should respond to any medical emergencies in case, Rob. Yeah, it probably would be good in that circumstance. But and also let OC know as well, because they'll need to know if an ambulance is arriving or something like that. That covers everything from us on Equity Front. Thank you for bearing with this. And if you have any questions, ask me.
Oh, hang on. There's a lot more slides I had to skip through. All right. We can stop this now.